Hey, Tracy here with BibleJournalingMinistries.com, and today I'm going to show you how to watercolor flowers using Q-tips. The first thing I'm going to need is a little bit of gesso. I'm going to use my Art Basics Gesso Clear just because I have some of this on hand and I want to use what I have before I buy any more. I usually like the Dina Wakley 1-ounce jars, but I don't have that today. I'm going to protect my Bible page with a Ranger craft mat. I'm going to need cotton swabs. These are just from the dollar store. They're $3.50 for like $1 at the dollar store. And some rubber bands. You can use any rubber bands and any Q-tips you have. This is just where I got mine. Then I'm going to need my Kuretake watercolors. This is my favorite. I'll be probably using most of the blues, maybe some yellows. And some water, some nice clean water. And a makeup brush to apply the gesso, makeup sponge. So let's go ahead and get started. You can see that I'm protecting just this page today. I'm not protecting this side of the page. If I wanted to, I would just stick this here and protect it, but I don't really, not really worried. This isn't a messy technique. This is very easy and simple, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to apply thin layer gesso. I'll do 2 coats. I'll fast forward this video so you don't have to watch me apply gesso, but I always go from the middle to the side to reduce the amount of crinkles I get. Now, why do I bother gessoing the page when it's watercolor? Some watercolor does not bleed through, so it's really kind of pointless to gesso the page if you're not adding a lot of water. But if you are adding a lot of water, then I just want to show you. Here's an example of when I didn't gesso the page. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, but you can see these little water marks here. And I'm just not wanting to get those on this other side of the page here. So I'm going to go ahead, that's why I do the gesso. Now you don't have to do it, especially if you're doing a really light coat of watercolor, you don't need to do it, but I just do it just to avoid, you know, possibility of the watercolor going through. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a handful of Q-tips. Usually what I'm looking to do is kind of create a circle, so I think I need 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, to make a little circle. Let's see. There we go. And you just want to twist them in your hand until you get the circle that you want. So I'm looking for a little flowery circle. And then I'm going to take my rubber band and I'm going to place it close to the top. The reason why I place it close to the top is so it will bunch up the Q-tips together. Otherwise you get something that looks like this, and that's not what you want either, unless you're trying to go for a look like that. So I'll bunch this end as well. And generally I make 2 to 3 of these before I start any design. That way I'm not worried about mixing colors and all that. There's the first one. So we need 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just wrapping a rubber band around it. Any rubber band is fine. And then I'm just positioning the Q-tips the way I want them. Okay. If you were going to make a lavender, you can do the same thing here, or you can make them a little bit more rectangular, and I'll show you that in just a minute. You can use more or less Q-tips depending on the design that you want to make. If you want a big design, then use more Q-tips. And if you want a smaller design, use less. There we go. Alright, get my flower, and it's just a little bit of molding, and I do both sides so that I don't have to fiddle with it later. So I have 2 ready to go. That is really 4 different brushes, if you think about it, the top and the bottom. If you're making a big flower, you just grab a handful of them. I love the hairbrush, the hair bands, because they don't seem to break as easy as really tiny rubber bands. They still break, but not as easy. So just bunch these together, and then I would just play around with it. So if you're doing a big one, we might do a big one. You know, that's about the size you want. So I just try to make them even, and you can tap them on a flat surface to make them even. Okay. If you're doing lavender, you can use any of these brushes. You just kind of, the technique is a little different. You just go to the side instead of up and down. But also you can make it easier on yourself by grabbing some of them and just kind of making them more rectangular. Oop. As opposed to circular. So you can see this is kind of more rectangular or square. Let me do the other side too so you can see. They tend to want to go in a ball, but it just really depends on how tight you tie your rubber band. So you can see that this is kind of a rectangular, and this would be great for if you were doing maybe some grass, maybe swiping some grass, or maybe making a big lavender or beautiful kind of rectangular flowers. So we can try some of those during this tutorial so you can see the difference between all of these Q-tip designs. Now, this is really, really easy. I'm going to have a couple extra Q-tips on hand to do stems, as I just want to be able to use just the Q-tips only. So this is going to be really easy. The first thing I'm going to do is dip my toothbrush, my Q-tips in water, just to kind of get some water on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate my watercolor. I'm going to go with the light color first. I usually do go with the light color when I'm doing watercolors. And this is the number 61. And I'm just going to tap, 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 tap. Okay, I'm trying to get the watercolor on the Q-tip, so you can see it's on there. The verse we're using is Psalm 103, verses 15 through 16, where it says, "As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field. For the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and its place knows it no more." So I'm just going to be making, flowers in the field. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of dot. That's all I'm going to do, is just dot. So this is going to be the big flower. Isn't that pretty? So this is the up close flower. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of flowers in the field. So I'm just putting my Q-tip in water, just putting it in some water. And while this one is drying, I'm coming here to get some different colors. So I know that flowers up front should be brighter and vibrant, so maybe I will try some pink. So I'll use the number 34, and again I'm just adding a little water and tapping. Now you don't want to have too much. You can see that I have quite a bit of water on my on my brush and not a lot of paint. So these are really saturated, and if they are too saturated, then you just kind of get a blob instead of a bunch of pretty dots. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. Pick a piece of toast note here. So if my flower is too wet, my Q-tips are too wet, you're going to get this kind of splotchy effect, and that's not really what you want. So just be careful with as much liquid as you're using. I'm just going to take my towel and just wipe it off. Okay. So you can see that I've wiped it off, and now I can come back and get some more paint. Okay. Now let's see what we got. Yep, better. I can also come up here and pick up this water too, not to waste it. And I'm just going to add just a bunch of little flowers. And maybe what I want to do is make some really pretty lavender flowers, or not lavenders, I don't know. I think they're lavenders, but this would be pink, and so pink is not a very good lavender. So all I'm doing is tap, tap, tap. And then to bring up a nice stem, I'm going to take my Q-tip and go just tap on the side. See how easy this is? Okay. Same thing here. Tap, tap, tap. And maybe a little bit one over here. Okay, again, this is just the number 34. My Q-tip is starting to get a little bit, what do you call it, where it's coming off a little bit, so I'm just kind of mashing it down a little bit. And I do like it when it comes off a little bit because it creates kind of a wispy look to it. But I like to also mash it down some. Make that one go out like this. Alright, the next thing I want to do is add a little bit of interest to this one. This one is really light blue. I would like to add a little bit of darker blue. So what I'm going to do is take my Q-tip, just dip it in water real quickly, shake off the excess, come over here and activate my number 66. Oops. Okay. I'm going to do a quick test to make sure I don't have it splotchy looking. Yeah, it's splotchy looking. So let's empty out some of that excess. Come back, grab some more. I think this is going to be fine. So it's nice if you just have some paper next to you where you can just test to see if you're getting the design you want. Yep. And I'm going to come back and just add a few dots just to kind of give it a little more depth. When it comes to watercolor, it's fun to give it a little more depth. Okay. This this one's looking great. I think what I'd like to do is add a little bit of purple to this. So what I'm going to do next is grab, and just so you guys see, if you've seen any of my watercolor videos, I've made a little template here in the case. So I can see what color I'm going to get, and I'd like to get this one, which is number 139. So I'm going to take my Q-tip, and on the other side, I'm going to dip it in some water, and then I'm going to come get some 139. Okay, you can see that ink watercolor is starting to come off. Okay, so that's plenty, I think. And I'm just going to come in here and just add a little bit of contrast. So I always go, when it comes to watercolor, I always go light to dark. And the great thing about watercolor is as you add water, it flows together and creates beautiful effects. Okay, let's go get some more 139. Okay. See how easy this technique is? And it creates really pretty flowers. Okay. Let's do a quick peek on this side so you see that you're not getting any of the bleed through, any kind of, there's nothing really coming through on the other side, which is fantastic. Alright, so at this point I don't really know how much more I want to do with this particular one. I think you're getting the point. Let's do some white. The white is number 10. I'm just going to pick it up, and it's hard for me to see the white on the Q-tips, but hopefully it's there. I can see it pulling up the color. I'm just going to add a little bit of white in here. No, I'm thinking a little yellow might look really cute in this blue flower, so let's go ahead and try a little bit of yellow. This is number 40 in the set. Yep, I like it. Kind of creates a nice little green. Then what I think I want to do is just a little bit of dotting in kind of the center to create a little more depth there. So I'm going to go ahead and back up and again come in with the number 66. Okay. Okay. Kind of creates a little center for you. You might want to do a little orange, yellow, darker yellow center as well. There. I think that's really pretty. The next thing I want to do is just come in and start to add some stems. To add the stems, again I'm just taking a Q-tip in some water. I'm going to come in and get the number 53 and just drag it along my toothpick, my Q-tip. I'm going to take it at the base of the flower and I'm going to swipe it away. The reason why I do swiping is because I like to get the lines in there. Now this one's going to be a little more difficult, so I think what I'll do is real carefully just draw a straight line. Okay. Now, if you want to add a little leaf, just push your Q-tip down a little bit and bring it up. And on the other side, push it down and bring it up. Okay, but I want to bring that line back. Okay, and all I'm doing right now is just adding a little bit of color to make it a little more interesting. What's funny is this particular flower that we're creating probably doesn't even have a leaf, and I just added it, so this one has a leaf. And you could really just go on and on creating just different beautiful flowers, but I'm not going to for this video because you get the point. But what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of green at the bottom, just because I don't like the flower just kind of hanging out there. So all I'm doing is taking my Q-tip and making a bunch of grass. And it makes really easy grass if you just start at the top, sweep down. Okay. I really like how this flower, how it's just kind of flowing out, like it's the wind is kind of hitting it, and the flower is just kind of disappearing into, like, going away, and that really reflects what is in this verse, which is, for the wind passes over it and it is gone. So it's like disappearing. So if I wanted to create more of that disappearing look, I would just come in and just kind of add some more kind of dots in here as it's flying away. Okay, let that dry for a bit. And now at this point I usually just try to figure out, is there anything else that I want to add to this? I know that I'd like to highlight the verse a little bit, so I'll take another Q-tip. Actually, I'll probably just take the one that has the blue on it. And I'll just do a little bit of an outline. Just to cause some interest, so we know which verse I was working on today. Alright, I'm really happy with this. Of course, you can add a little, like if you wanted to add some more interest into the background, maybe some of these other flowers in the field that we just didn't put in to the front. Maybe they're just in the background. All I'm doing now is just adding color. And maybe I'll add a little bit of the blue as well, because maybe there's some of those blue flowers in the background too. We just don't see them. You see how these little dots just make cute little flowers. You can't really see, but overall, this is the Q-tip technique for making flowers, and I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you. And I would love to see some of your work in our community, so feel free to post it in there and ask any questions that you have on this course. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.